So it's changed I guess, the way I work, in that I have been working in an office, in a full-time office environment. Since COVID-19, I've moved from that environment to working from home, so I'm now working remotely. I'm still working full-time, however, essentially working on my project work remotely, so collaborating with colleagues, mostly by Zoom, phone, email, as opposed to face-to-face meetings. I think one of the biggest things that's impacted my work is that the nature of my work is that I engage in a lot of face-to-face contact with vulnerable members of the community, as I work in the disability sector. So that's meant that our project has been put on hold for the moment. So I've gone from a period of very frantic activity to a period of not being so busy. So they're the two major changes, I think, in my work. Look, the biggest challenge would have to be motivation for me. Having my work kind of quickly, or my project quickly conclude, and then having this period of we don't know when it's going to commence and in what form that will be. I think that vacuum, it kind of leaves a bit of a vacuum in my work life, where I'm left trying to stay motivated when I don't have the purpose and that sense of having deadlines to hit and milestones to hit, and on a weekly, sort of daily, weekly, monthly basis. Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like my sense of connection and belonging with colleagues has actually gone up. So I know that Ross talked about the happiness, meaning happiness line in his webinar, and I found it really interesting. So I mapped where I was at before COVID-19. Meaning, connectedness, belonging, and I think it was connectedness and belonging, perhaps the two areas were quite low, and they were quite under the line in my working environment. But since I've gone into this space, I feel like it's gone above the line. And I guess the reason why that is because I have worked remotely in the past on other projects, so I actually do find it a good way of working. I prefer to work in a bit of a remote way. So I've since developed a few special interest groups in my organisation and connected virtually with different colleagues. So this has kind of acted as a bit of a vehicle for me to engage with people in my organisation more, because I sensed as though some people in my organisation were struggling with the transition from face-to-face to remote working, because it's a very new way of working for our organisation. I think the biggest learning has been I feel as though I mentioned earlier that sort of sense of meaning and purpose in my work, but I've realised that it's quite a transactional. Pre-COVID, my sense of meaning and purpose was quite transactional, and now that I'm really having the space and time to reflect on what I do, why I do it, and whether it fills my tank or not, I've kind of realised that I think my work is actually missing meaning and purpose. And I'm now really reflecting on what am I going to do once our organisation goes back to some form of BAU, whatever that form that will take, what that means for me. I don't know if I can go back to where I was at pre-COVID-19, because I'm now on a very deep level feeling as though that sense of really connecting with my work, having a deep sense of purpose, intrinsic sense of purpose, and a feeling that I'm really giving back to the community is quite absent. I think there's going to be some really great opportunities. I think the way we work is one of those opportunities. So there's been a lot of talk within organisations, mine included, around work, you know, flexibility in your way of working, but it hasn't really been embraced in a true sense. So I think that so one of the good things out of this is there'll be a greater workplace flexibility or working remotely through necessity. So I think that'll be a great opportunity to work in a more agile, flexible way, and also add to the workplace experience. I know that having extra time, so you take the commute time out of the equation, and having so much more time actually adds to my experience as an employee and to my well-being. I think it'll create new opportunities in how we do things. I think new roles will be created out of this. What they look like, I don't know, but some will go, and then there'll be sort of new roles, new ways of working, new opportunities, particularly in the innovation space. So I think it goes back to that meaning and purpose question. So at this sort of point in my life, I really need a deeper connection to meaning and purpose in my work now than perhaps what I did before. So I think I'm really realising that there's something bigger behind what I want to do going forward, as opposed to just delivering on a project or just having a job. It's actually, I want to do something bigger than that now. So I think work has taken on perhaps a different meaning